Hey everyone, and welcome to Food Stories, Artisan Bread series. Today is Saturday the 28th, and this is the final fourth episode in the four-parter uh, with Chef Rachida. If you guys could remember, let me do a quick recap. When Chef Rachida started, she taught us how to do the starter. That's episode 1. Episode 2, again, was the starter, but add more water hot to set. After you feed it, the baby started to rise. So you started to fold it now in the process of making the bread. And today, the final one is the baking. But before we go into Chef Rajida's kitchen, which is in Washington, D.C., by the way, I'm calling from Trinidad. Let me introduce the folks in the peanut gallery. From my left, which would be you guys right, is Aslan Blow from the UK. Hi, Aslan.
Hi, folks.
Next, hi. Next to Aslan, we have George Cohen. Hi, George. I guess he's frozen. Next to George, we have the real George Sepich. Hi,
Live
George.
pumpkin capital of the world, Morton, Illinois.
Pumpkin capital of the world. And George, by the way, has been shadowing Chef Rachida, and he's also been making the starter and following her every step. He even made the bread. There you go. Last week he was George the Wizard. This week, who knows who he'll be?
It's a mystery.
It's a mystery. Next to George, we have Marilyn, who is also in the same house as George Cohen. That's George's partner. Hi, Marilyn. And they
you know, George,
sunny,
the other George,
California.
yeah, the other George has also been doing this starter and tracking along and making some of his own innovations and discussing it with Chef Rachida. Looking forward to the baking of the bread.
Exactly. And before we get into Chef Rachida's kitchen, I just want to say a couple hi or shout outs to Johnny S, live photo walkers worldwide. George just dropped back in, and I will be giving shout outs throughout the rest of the program. But without further ado, let's get into the kitchen. Chef Rachida.
Hey guys, this is Rachida Dukes, known as Chef Rachida. So I was baking some bread for you today. We're going to go over the baked bread. But before we get to this stage, I'm going to show you, we're going back to what we were doing in the last third session, which is basically, I'm going to make sure here the camera is. So the last time what we were doing, we mix the flour, the salts, and the water and the starter together, and we start folding it. And so I am doing the same thing, except this is I folded already 5 times. This is the 6th time. So I'm going to fold it by just pulling the dough from the side and stretching it all the way up and putting it back into the dough. By the way, I put some water in my hand, and that's it. And normally this is what I do every 20-40 minutes, 6 times. So since this is the last fold, I'm going to shape it. I'm going to use a plate for the demo. You don't need to do that. And I have a bowl. I'm going to store it in this bowl. So I have what we call the flour sack material. So I'm going to, at this moment, I'm not putting my hand in the water anymore. I'm going to use the flour. So I'm going to take a third of the dough. It's quite wet because it's 70% hydration. So, whoa, it's really wet. So I'm going to put the flour on the I'm just going to take a small portion of the dough to make it easy. It's really wet, and that's the way it's supposed to be. Don't worry. Everything is fine so far. I'm just going to... So I'm trying to create like a bowl. Then you may add more flour, and then you grab the bowl. Put it inside the bowl, and we cover it with a little bit of flour. So the smooth side, I put it in the bottom, and then you cover the dough, and make sure you put a lid which is completely secure. If not, you just use a plastic bag. And I'm going to put this in the refrigerator. I'm going to grab another one where it's going to the oven. So Larry, it's up to you now. So I'm going to take this to the refrigerator again and grab another one I made yesterday. Okay?
Okay. All right. So, George, Gandalf, wizard, since you've been following, what sort of process did you replicate her process, or did you come up with something on your own, or what?
Well, a little bit both, because I don't have the baking skills of Chef Rachida yet, but and I did find, and I posted that my I actually bought a thermometer for my oven, because the apartment I'm living in, I found, runs a lot hotter than what it says on the dial. So that made a big difference. And I did make some bread this morning, and it's starting to look better every week. And I actually took a recipe but added some basil and Parmesan cheese to it. So, but it actually, this is the first time it actually looks edible. So I can't wait to try it out.
Okay.
Okay, great.
So this dough, I made it yesterday, exactly the same way you were watching me. And so I'm trying to show you what. So the dough is kind of a little bit firm. The reason is because it's sitting in the refrigerator. Since it's very wet, when it's sitting in the refrigerator, it helps you. So what I'm going to do, I am going to grab a pot which is in the oven at 500 degrees for the last 45 minutes, and I'm going to put this dough, which was resting in the refrigerator for almost 24 hours. You can leave it in the refrigerator for up to 48 hours. And then I'm going to show you how we score it, and we put it in the oven. So I'm going to bring the hot pot.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. The pot is very, very hot. It's very hot. Let me show you that. Okay, do we have the thermometer working?
Just move it a little forward.
Okay, well, it's not going to. So let me make some space here. So this is the pot which is was sitting in the oven for a good 45 minutes.
Okay. That looks like a regular. Is that a Dutch oven you're using?
Yes. But mine is ceramic. There is some smoke, but because we had some flowers burning there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the dough, and I'm putting it here. I flip it, and then I'm going to put flour on the top of it to give it this artisanal look.
Mm.
And then I'm going to take razors. This was just here a few minutes ago. Just plain razors. You can buy it for a few cents from CVS. Okay.
I actually went out and bought an X-Acto knife just for the baking, and it seems to work well.
So I'm going to try to show you what I'm doing inside the pot.
So this is the
with an
scoring,
angle,
right? This is the scoring.
yes, with angle for 45 degrees, I'm scoring the four sides, and then I'm going to close it and put it back in the oven. I'm coming back in 1 second.
Okay.
Oh, and I looked at your website again, Chef Rachida, and I saw you changed it. And you actually have a link. You have a link to on Amazon to that to that bread, what you're baking in. That looked really neat. I want one.
I'm back. So I have a timer. It's at 500 degrees, and next 10 minutes I'm going to change the temperature to 500 degrees to 475. And that's it.
Okay.
That's it. So I am going to, while I'm talking, clean up a little bit here. And
all right, while you clean up, let me give a little shout out to Elena Bellometti, sorry. Michael Thomas. Mike has been a regular during this series. He actually, I think, is baking some bread. Oh, also, Chef Rachida is going to be
I just want to
having
add
a community.
something.
Chef, hold on for 1 sec. I'm telling him about your community, your bread community that you're going to be, that you already have, or you're going to be having, where folks who are interested in artisan baking can join this community and talk to Chef. Ask Chef any questions you might have, and she will be posting these videos along with whatever else she has. And incidentally, I'm going to create a playlist of these 4 videos and share it out.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, back to you.
I'm just going to repeat what I've done. I took the dough, I folded for the 6th time, and then I shape it, and I put it in a bowl, and I put it in the refrigerator for a day or 2. Then after that, since I have another dough in the refrigerator, I took it out. I took also the pot I have in the oven, which was there for 45 minutes at 500 degrees. I took that pot, I put the dough inside of it, and I put some flour. Then I score my bread in 4 sides. I close the lid, and I put it in the oven. And I'm going to time it for 10 minutes at 500 degrees. Then after that, I'm going to lower the temperature at 475 for the next 35 minutes. But we're not going to wait for that bread. But I made the same kind of bread this morning. So this one was baked a few hours ago. And I'm going to show you the temperature of the. It's still, it says, I don't know if you see, it's 94 degrees. The reason I'm showing that this bread is ready to be eaten, because if the bread is over 100 degrees, please don't cut it. Artisan bread, it's still being baked. For example, this one is very hot.
Is that temperature Fahrenheit?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yes. So this one is 157. I'm not going to touch it. The reason is because inside this loaf of bread, it's very dewy. It's kind of wet. So I'm going to wait until it's 100 degrees or less. Since this one is 100 degrees or less, I'm going to slice it in front of you so you see what we're getting here.
Okay. I have a quick question for you, Chef. Speaking of temperature, how long do you let your oven preheat?
I preheat the oven for 45 minutes at 500 degrees. Then I put the dough inside the pot. Then I take the pot inside the oven for 10 minutes at 500 degrees. But really, right now we think it's 500 degrees, but inside the oven it's not. The reason is we took the pot, we opened the oven to take the pot out, and then we put the dough back. So by doing that twice, you lose a lot of temperature. So you're really never at 500 degrees. You're going to be at 475. So I'm going to slice this one. I have one of these because they're kind of there's a lot of crumbs. So normally what I do, I slice it from the middle, and it's kind of a little bit hard bread. And I have a nice sharp bread knife. And then after that, okay, so you're going to see this is wheat bread, and it's fluffy. It's not heavy, it's not dense. And after that, I will put it this way, and then I start slicing it.
Larry, I think we need to invent an oven cam. Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Right in there.
And you hear the crust.
Cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you hear the crust.
Wow.
So the bigger the loaf is, the better. It just the flavor is better, and also you will have less crust if you don't like it. So I'm going to sit and eat my bread. And normally what I do, once it's completely at room temperature, I take a plastic bag, I put this slice, I put them in the freezer like this. You don't want to freeze the whole loaf of bread. And then I take slice one at a time. So I'm going to sit and eat my bread here with you guys. But you don't have any. Okay.
We don't have any on this side.
I have bread.
So the bread here is really the star, but I'm going to put a little bit of butter and a little bit of jam. I like apricot jam.
Nice.
And it's really, really a nice meal by itself.
I would like to say hi to Chef Marielle. She also said something that was, you gave her a good tip. Great info, Chef Rachida. Never tested tent after baking before.
And it's really, it's like a donut. It's just really fluffy, nice.
You're making me hungry.
Rachida, I have a question. Rachida, I've got a question for you. Why did you took the dough out of the fridge, didn't you, and then baked it straight away? The container was hot, and then cold dough went into the container.
Yeah, I know.
What's the reasoning behind that? Cold dough, hot container.
Well, because I'm following the philosophy of the cold fermentation, delayed fermentation. So I put the dough in the refrigerator, so the fermentation is very slow. So all these enzymes will develop naturally. And to promote the flavor, to promote the sugar, natural sugar. So when I'm baking it in the oven, it's brown, it's caramelized, and the flavor is nicer.
Okay.
And the reason, okay, the dough is very cold. I agree with you. It's like what, 40, 30 degrees, 50 the maximum. And goes to 500, and that's why we need that 500 degrees, because the moment you put the whole thing in the oven, it's not going to be 500 degrees. It's going to be way less than that.
Yeah,
so that's why the first 10 minutes I leave it at 500 degrees. That's not what you want for the bread baking, but you need it to just to give a spring to the dough, to say, hey, come up, get up, you know, or wake up, or to help the volume also.
Okay.
You're putting yourself in danger. You're asking these really secret questions of the. It's like, you know, you're getting into the bread maker's Illuminati. You got to be careful.
Because I'm a bread maker too, but I've never done the cold and hot before, so I'm curious.
I'm giving you all the secrets, please. I love what I do. I really do. I love this.
I can tell you're passionate. Actually, you're so passionate that Elena Bellamotti says, "Good job."
Thank you, thank you. And this is really what I was making today. I didn't buy this. This is mine. This is a beautiful piece of bread, and you pay premium money in Washington here. You have to go to specific restaurants, and still you don't get the same bread. This is really nice. Yeah. So yes, Aslan, it goes from the cold to the oven. Even me, I shy away from that. But I said, you know what, sits in the books, sits in the school, I'm going to do it and find out what's going on. And sure enough, it works.
I agree because I've never done that. My girls are supposed to be baking bread tomorrow. I think we're gonna try that.
Yeah, and you know what? It does give you some kind of freedom. By putting the dough in the refrigerator, you can bake it after 24 hours, after 24 hours, sorry, 48 hours, 36 hours. So you have all this freedom in the morning and the evening. So it's just nice. Something nice comes with flexibility. I'm for it, you know.
Chef, quick question. I've tried baking several times and it's come out okay, but when you score it and everything, you almost have that design on the top, and it's like a different color and stuff. What is the key to the scoring and getting the cool look on the top of it? Because I haven't been able to achieve that yet.
Okay, let me grab the full one, which is I cannot. So what I did when I put the dough in the pot, and you can go back and. Thanks to the technology, you can go back and watch it. The moment I put it in the pot, I took this razor. It's like few cents. You can buy it anywhere, and scored it at 45 degrees 4 times. You can do 3 times, and if you Google for it, you can see all different patterns. What's important is not only for the look. You're allowing the bread to expand, because if not, it will explode.
Right, right.
Yeah, so that's all it is. It just happened. After that, it looks so nice, and
It looks absolutely beautiful.
Yeah,
it's
and
great.
Normally the bread is nicely baked once. Okay, so my timer now, it says it has been 10 minutes at 500 degrees. Go very quickly. Change the temperature from 500 degrees to 475. I'll be back in 1 second.
1001.
So what have you got, George? What have you got then? Anything exciting happening in your kitchen?
Okay, I'm back.
Well, which George are you talking to? You have to say if it's the real George or the unreal George. You see.
Oh, the real George.
Yeah, I haven't checked my temperature. That'll be the next thing. And I need to. I did buy an oven thermometer, and I have I don't know. I need to buy a digital thermometer like Chef has, so I can check the internal temperature and make sure. For the bread, would a meat thermometer work for checking that or not?
Yeah, I'm going to answer that question. I just want to say what I did. I went to the oven and I lowered the temperature to 475. I put my timer at 35 minutes. And just to remind me, there is a bread in the oven, so I don't forget. It's easy for me to forget. You said something about the temperature. You have, okay, if you have doubt, if you don't know what your oven, especially when you're baking for the first time, maybe you just time it for 25 minutes. You go back. You want your bread to be as dark as this one, okay? Trust me, just go as dark as this one. And once you get it out from the oven, and you look at the temperature, it's going to say 210, 220. It's very rare when it's 230. So that means you're good. You're going to go to be above 200 degrees. That means that this bread is completely baked. It just, you can't slice it. Why? Because it's so wet, it's so dewy. And it happened to me before. I sliced it and said, you know what, I don't know what to do next time. It's so brown, but inside is not baked. And I was reading one time, it said, oh, you may have to wait 3 hours. This one was baked like a couple hours before, a couple hours ago. And it's still, let me read the temperature. Okay, this is a professional thermometer. I have to, it says 140 degrees. 140, okay, 142. This is like 2 hours ago, so I'm have to wait another hour.
Wow.
And I knew it's going to happen.
The bread's not feeling any pain when you stick it, is it?
I'm sorry?
The bread's not feeling any pain when you put that needle in it, is it?
No, George.
Not the sort of pain you're thinking, George.
Okay, so I hope I answered your question. The thermometer any thermometer which you can put in the bread, of course, and you can read that 200 degrees, 210, 220. If you're able to read that, that's all it matters. If it's for the meat or for anything, we don't care. As long as you can read the thermometer where it says 210, 220. But you know what? The color will give you an indication if the bread is correctly baked. Don't worry about it. Just make sure it's nicely brown. And that thermometer is just to tell you guys, do not slice that bread. Do not.
I have a question coming up here, Chef, from look like Candy in Tokyo. Question: can you use ordinary bread making machine if you're not using an oven? What's the difference? I don't think you can use the bread making machine.
It's a huge difference. The difference is you're kneading the dough in that container, and then the bread is fermented in the same container. So there is nothing wrong with that. It's just the fermentation is at room temperature. It's not in the cold temperature, which will promote the flavor, the sugar, and all of that. But that's still okay. The problem with the bread machine is that dough is going to be baked in that same machine where you're going from, let's say, 60, 70 degrees slowly to 300. I don't think you can go beyond 300. The artisanal bread baking need a 500 degrees, at least 400 degrees. You can't have that in the machine. If you put the thermometer in, because I used to have one of them, if you put the thermometer in the machine, the bread maker, it doesn't go beyond 300 degrees. And also there is this concept of putting the dough and the temperature rising slowly. I don't believe in that, because normally, even if you're not making artisanal bread, professional or not, people, they take the dough from the refrigerator or the room temperature to to the oven, which is very high. So in few seconds that happens. In the bread maker, it doesn't happen.
Chef Rachida, I understand one of the problems I was having. I definitely need to get a proper thermometer because I've been having trouble getting this inside the bread to try the temperature. So I need to do a different thermometer, I think.
Okay, this is the thermometer I use. It's good for all of it, but it's a professional thermometer. It's like $120. It's very expensive. But you can buy $20 digital thermometer. As long as it's digital, you can read it, and it jumps from 200 to 210 to 220. That's a good one. But if it jumps from 200 to 300 and you don't know what's happened between, then no, it's not good for that.
Yeah, this is like the 6 degrees of 7 bacon brand. I need to get a different one.
Okay. Okay, so continue eating my bread.
Awesome.
And that's it. And I hope you can review all the videos. Larry will take care of connecting all of them. And you have the recipe on my website for the starter and for the artisanal bread. And thank you very much for following up with me. And you can always ask questions in the site, in YouTube, or in these events. I'll be happy to answer them.
And that's chefrachida.com, correct?
Yes.